Hello and welcome to ET Now. In this special conversation, I am joined by Madam Valsa Nair Singh, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Housing, Government of Maharashtra. Thank you so much, ma'am, for talking to ET Now. Today is a big day where the Maharashtra Cabinet has given a final note for housing policy. After 18 years, housing policy has seen a light of day. So how big this development is and how this policy will make a housing affordable, especially in city like Mumbai?
Thank you so much. The last housing policy for the state was, as you said, 18 years ago in 2007. Subsequently, there were attempts to make housing policies. Drafts were published, but they did not reach the final stage. So in 2025, we have now come after a long time. It was really the need of the hour because during these years, the whole world has changed. So when we look at the roadmap for housing, we see that post-COVID, the whole demand system is changed. The spending limits are different, disposable income is high, and also new technologies in construction, also more awareness of environmental issues, climate change. So, and in Mumbai especially the question of redevelopment. So we put all these together and said, let's now create a new roadmap for housing in the state. One of the objectives behind this is, of course, to make it more affordable, because we are looking at the segment of affordability and also social housing in this policy. It's not just to make it affordable, also to make it reach to those sections of society who are not there in the earlier mainstream policies. So that has been the effort behind this.
Okay. Ma'am, in this housing policy, are there any subsidies for green housing, rental housing, so developers will be motivated to have sustainable housing projects?
Yeah, green housing has already have subsidies earlier, so there is nothing new added in this, nothing over and above that. But in this, what we have done is some of the four main categories of the society, we have put them into the mainstream housing. One of them being senior citizens housing, student housing, working women's housing, and industrial workers. We have put them in the mainstream, and we have also announced a slew of incentives for them.
Okay.
Right from FSI on a larger high, even in a green zone, FSI is allowed. Also on premium payments, there are incentives for these four categories, and also TIG, the Technology Innovation Grant, solar subsidy, all have been newly announced for these categories of housing.
So developers will get more incentives for these categories.
Exactly. The idea is to have private development in these sectors, because these are also very good business opportunities all across the world. As you see how the world is moving, these are sections of society where housing needs have not been met or maybe not been defined yet. So by the kind of incentives which we are giving, we are hoping to sort of bridge that gap. Secondly, for student housing and working women's housing, it will be the electricity and water will be residential rates and not in commercial rate. So we want to make developers come forward and set up these kind of units in the state.
Okay. Ma'am, if we talk about city like Mumbai, the affordability is not there. One of the reason is the premium charges, various premium charges. So in this policy, have you looked upon the premium charges also, or because with the rationalization of premium charges, some sort of affordability can be created?
Yeah, when we started the work on the policy, we did have meetings with all stakeholders, and most of the stakeholders who are from the developer side had made this request that the premium should be come down. But the government had taken a view at that time that at this moment, let us not touch the issue of premiums. Let us only go into what we can do over and above that, having a new roadmap and new directions and a new set of guidelines for implementation in these four sectors, as well as other brownfield development. So premium is not a subject which we had touched upon in this policy.
Okay, so premium is not touched upon at all. And one major issue is of redevelopment and self-development. In a city like Mumbai, there are thousands and thousands of projects due for the redevelopment. So for the redevelopment project, what kind of incentives you would be giving to developers?
So redevelopment Mumbai is governed by the sections of 33.5, 33.7 and 33.9. So FSI incentives are already in those acts. But despite that, what we find is that the speed at which the redevelopment happens, it needs to be picked up. You find that tenants, once they vacate their house, they're outside in transit accommodation for a long time.
Yes,
And in many cases, you find that many developers have left it and gone. So they are on the road. So in this policy, we have introduced an escrow account for rent payment to the tenants. So that at least they are taken care of and they are not set on the roads. And we are also looking at a tripartite agreement between the society, the developer and MADA, because the name of MADA gives a kind of a trust and credibility among the people. So we'll be doing that. We are also going to highlight those developers who are not quick in these projects and they would not be allowed to further participate in the latest tenders. And also one big policy shift which we have had is to go in for cluster approach.
Okay.
This cluster and development agreement approach is something which the government is taken on a very, very big scale. And you will find more and more now layouts going in for that, because this also helps in affordability, helps in better planning and integrated comprehensive planning and better amenity spaces. So cluster and could be done in either in public-private partnership or in JV.
Okay. And ma'am, for affordable housing in a city like Mumbai and other metros of Maharashtra, any additional FSI incentives you are giving to developers so they can come forward and give affordable housing to the majority section of the society?
We already have affordable housing incentives, like in the UDCPR it is 3.8.2, where you get an additional FSI incentive for creation of affordable houses. So, but we have just sort of streamlined that inclusive housing guideline this time and made it part of a new app which we are going to call Maha Awas app, where once it registered, it is easy for the beneficiary, to the buyer, to get it on track it. In fact, this entire new policy, I would say, is a data-driven housing policy.
Okay.
We are doing a need analysis and a survey and study detailed scrutiny of that analysis. We are creating a district-wise land bank inventory of buildable places where we could plan, and we would have taken the help of the Department of Statistics to get this entire analysis done. And then we are creating a new portal called SHIP, which is a State Housing Information Portal. So this is going to be the mother of all housing portals, a single stop housing portal, because many housing schemes are run by different departments here, and there is no single unit where you get to monitor it.
So we can say that single window clearance will be there.
This is not about clearance. This is more about information and monitoring. It's more like a big dashboard.
Okay.
So all the acts rules relating to housing projects, all the schemes, the beneficiaries, they'll be linked, and it's linked to the UDCH, the Citizen Hub, and it is also the vacant houses details, the funding. And this portal will be linked to RERA as well. It will be linked to PM Gati Shakti. It will be linked to the Bhumi Abhilekh department. So it is something in which we realize we are working in silos when it comes to housing. This portal and this demand analysis, need analysis is helping us to integrate and talk to each other so that citizens get the best of it.
Land bank is a serious issue in major cities in Maharashtra, Mumbai, Pune, and there are a couple of land banks in form of salt pan land also. So have you considered these land banks also for the housing project, for the development?
Yes, salt pan lands are under the ownership of partly with the government of India and partly government of Maharashtra. So the allotment of salt pan for affordable housing is usually done by the central government, for the DIPP. So till now we have got clearance on only 2 to 3 parcels of salt pan for affordable housing. That has not been considered in this policy.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, for public-private partnership, what kind of incentives you will be giving to the developers?
See, in the cluster approach, which I said, the incentives for the developer would be the free sale area which comes, because the bidding criteria would be the area which is going to be shared with given to MADA. The rest will be the free sale component which the builder gets.
Okay. You worked on this housing policy for more than 2 years. So how satisfied you are with the final outcome? Because you must have inculcated suggestions of all stakeholders.
We did. In fact, we have this policy was in the public domain for 30 days, and we have got almost 2,200 comments on this. So I think I could say it's a policy with public involvement. Apart from redevelopment, we have also done a lot of new measures in slum rehab authority, in the slum rehab schemes of Mumbai, which is probably the nerve of Mumbai, because almost 18% of the population is in slums. So we have introduced lots of new measures which gives security and protection to the slum dwellers, one being a registered agreement with the developer. Till now, there was no registered agreement. We have introduced that. And also, another new issue in Mumbai is that you have all these rehab buildings, slum, which is made 30-40 years ago. They are not in a good condition. There is a structural issues. So we need to look at them also now, how to redevelop them. And they are also smaller sizes. So we are coming, the policy is approved a scheme in which we are going to redevelop those old SRA rehab buildings as well. So that I think it's a very impactful decision for Mumbaikars.
Ma'am, in today's press release, it was mentioned that 70,000 crore of investment will be there through this new policy. So majorly that 70,000 crore will be focused on which segment or which areas?
Now, this entire 70,000 is only in the sector of affordable housing and the social housing sectors. We have not counted any of the free sale and other luxury in this, because this is the government's commitment. And this 70,000 would be roughly about 35 lakh houses is what we are planning in the next 5 years under this, just the EWS and the social housing sectors.
Okay.
Because over and above, if you look at the entire gamut, that could probably go to 2 lakh crores. But we are only at the moment restricted to 70,000 because that's our commitment.
Okay. Ma'am, my final question would be that after this new housing policy, do you think that overall supply will increase in market and which may bring down the prices also, and it will be affordable for the many sections of society?
Definitely. That's a hope. Supply will definitely increase. And also most of these houses which I talked about, most of them are also in the rental space. We are going to market them as affordable rental housings, like student housing or working women. It's all be on rental. So that will definitely bring down the need, the supply, and I am sure it will lead to better amenities, more affordability, and a better life.
Okay, so rental housing, senior living housing will have more incentives.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was pleasure talking to you.